This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Female Founder Show. Today's guest is an incredible force in the field of lifestyle expertise, a renowned TV personality, keynote speaker, and the founder of the More Life Collective. You may have seen her on the Today Show, Good Day New York, New York Live, Fox and Friends, and so many others. Today, we welcome Barbara Majeski, who, in the midst of adversity, doesn't just survive, she thrives. Join us today as we uncover what fuels her during the toughest of times, exploring the significance of staying positive and motivated in a world where these virtues can truly redefine our experiences. Please give a warm welcome to Barbara Majeski. Barbara, thank you so much for joining us today.
And thanks for having me, Bridget. I'm excited.
Good, me too. Now, you've gone through some experiences, some tough ones, that would have caused many to give up. Not only did you not give up with going through those challenges, they really shaped your approach to success and resilience. Can you talk to us about that time and how you had the courage to turn things around?
Absolutely. Because, and thank you again for having me on the show. And when we go through anything, so for anybody that doesn't know, I was diagnosed with a late stage cancer in 2015, did my treatments in 2016, and simultaneously, right before my diagnosis, my marriage crumbled in a dumpster fire blaze of glory. So as I was, battling for my life, I'm also kind of reconciling, what is going to be my new normal if I survive. If I survive, what is my life going to look like? And you get to these inflection points, as we all do. Like, there's nothing really truly unique about that. If you look at it from like a global scale, we all go through adversity. It's whether we decide to grow bitter or we decide to grow better that's within our jurisdiction. Like, I didn't have any like authority over what happened to me, my diagnosis, or really even my husband not wanting to be married anymore. But I could control how I responded to it, how I handled my treatments, and then the next chapters of my life. And I had made a very, very conscious decision in the middle of my treatments that if I got another shot at life, I would no longer be beholden to the weight of other people's opinions, fear, doubt. Like, I just made this very conscientious decision that I would never play small again. And that's really where you're meeting me today. It's just my second act and what it's been like. And it's been, it's been funny at times, but it's been a tremendous rebirth, second act. And that's where I'm at today.
I love it. It's so important that you were talking about, not really caring what people think anymore and just kind of doing what you have to do and, really living authentically. And that's so important today, especially when we're talking about branding ourselves and our companies and all that's there's so many different areas to do that with social media and podcasts and things. So good for you. I think that that's a good message there to really come out and be authentic, not care what anybody thinks, because that struggle is real. So
that struggle is never ending. And it really is learning how to regulate that in your space. I used to say, Bridget, I'd be like, I don't care what other people think. But the truth is, we all care about what other people think. We care. We want to be accepted and recognized, and we want to feel that we are giving and serving. So we do, but it's learning how to really modulate that need for other people's approval in our journey of living our very best life, right? Like, I think that I'm always a work in progress and a masterpiece simultaneously. I'm like, oh my God, I think so many people can resonate with that of like, but we can't say we don't care, but we just have to put it on a spectrum of how is that holding me back? And I can't control how other people, and that's was my biggest breakthrough. Is like, I can't control the way other people perceive me. All I can control is how I handle my situation. And as long as if I'm living at the highest expression of me, being authentically me, that's all I got. This is all I got. I'm really good at being me. Does that make sense?
It totally makes sense. And we love you for it. So, and that brings me to my next question. You're often referred to as the curator of the good life, Now, what principles or habits do you believe are essential for achieving a balanced, fulfilling life?
I think balance is elusive. I think sometimes when we're super hyper focused on our kids as moms, then it comes at a compromise. Like we can't be all things to all things all the time, but we can be, it's like you can't have everything all at once, but you can have everything within its due time, and recognizing that the pendulum is constantly going to swing. But I really like the moniker curator of the good life. To me, stands for living at really your highest expression of who you are and being authentic. And I had this great experience. I spoke at 10X Ladies maybe 2 years ago, and Gary Brecka spoke just before me. And he asked the audience, he said, what is the emotion, like the energy that you can give out to most connect with other people? And I was like, love, like you've got to love, like la, la, la. And he's like, no, like the way to really connect with other people at that high expression and vibration is to be authentically you. Like when you are just operating at your best and who you are supposed to be, your ability to connect with other people is completely and utterly optimized. So Bridget, why I share that so often is so I spoke a day after him, and all I kept saying, I was like, I'm just going to go up there and be me. Like, I'm so good at being me. And what ended up happening is I ended up by getting 2 standing ovations. I forgot what I was saying in the middle of my, 60-minute keynote, because that's me, like forgetful, and I laughed in the middle of it because I was like, I forgot what I was saying. I like literally just, I have no idea what's next. And I lost my place. But that was me being me and not trying to overcompensate for my, my shortcomings, but being authentically myself with my shortcomings. So honestly, Bridget, that's just one of the things that when I'm sharing different aspects and living the good life, it's just, how do you live your best life? Purpose, style, adventure, authenticity, just be you, and stop trying to check all the boxes of the social constructs that we've been led to believe is what it makes you a good person or, the best life, like whatever. So just be you, and I'll be me, you be you, and we'd be twinning all over the place.
There you go. I love it because there's so much pressure, especially on females in business to be a certain way and fit into a certain box. So I think that we're coming out of that, and with your help and talking to people on stages all the time like you do is huge. That's a great message to be spreading, especially right now.
Yeah, just do your best. You're not here to be the best.
Yeah.
You're just here to give your best.
Yeah.
And I think that sometimes is such a message that we all need to, receive, because we're always comparing ourselves to other people. Mm-hmm. And comparison is such the thief of joy. And when you can just say, I'm going to give my best, I'm going to give my best. And some days, Bridget, we're going to show up, right? And we're going to give our best. I had this on the Today Show. This was, maybe last spring. I had this really cute episode. Like I curated all these things and I was like, this is going to be so good. I had the cutest outfit. I checked every box for and I memorized, and I just felt so good about it. I went on there and I think just Hoda asked me some question that I just wasn't, I was like, but I didn't, it just wasn't my best. And I only share that because although I went in it just didn't land, and that's okay. Then I went and just did one of my favorite segments with as a fraction of the preparation, I literally picked my Olivia Newton-John outfit out the night before. And it was one of my best episodes.
Oh, I love it.
So, just keep showing up and giving your best. And some days you're going to win and some days you're going to learn.
Exactly. Great advice there. Now, your experience in media and TV has been extensive. Do you have any advice for those watching on what they can do to effectively leverage media exposure to help elevate their brand?
to get more media exposure and to leverage, I think there's like two spaces to really help maybe your audience. So first of all, to get some more media exposure, to maybe get on the Today Show, Inside Edition, Fox and Friends, if you want to be like in news and politics, you've got to be persistent. And you have to know what the audience wants. Like, don't be like, if you have a book and you want to get it on TV, you have to reverse engineer why the audience. Stop thinking about how great your book is and how great it would be to get exposure and to get on TV. And I'd love that experience. Stop making it about you and start making about the audience. So when you can pitch a producer and put the idea out, it's like, this is so perfect. The timing of this for your audience, pitch it so it meets the producer's needs. So that's number one. And be persistent, because producers get pitched left, right, and center. And if you just are persistent, I'm telling you, it's like double dutch. You ever play that game with the jump rope? And you're like, I don't know. And sometimes you're just going to jump in and the rope's going to hit you in the face. Eventually you'll time it where that producer is like, I got nothing that day. And this person just you're a friend of mine. It's like, you're a friend of mine. Yeah. Then you take that piece of media and then you push it out on all sorts of social media platforms over and over again, meeting the needs again of that audience, not so much what your needs are and where I looked really cute in this frame, because I can do that, where I'm like, oh, I love that angle. I look so cute in that angle. Nobody cares. Like, they only care about like, I'm only following you for give me the tips and tricks for my holiday decor. And stop worrying about, well, I like that angle where I'm saying absolutely nothing. So you got to always think about what your audience needs, leverage that by pushing out on social media. The cool thing about television, reason why I would definitely try to push to get on there, is you have to be invited on TV. Like, all of us can be on all these platforms. Anybody can open a social media account, but you have to be invited on TV. And that cachet is worth it, I think, for every brand that is out there, is to try to get on television. But the last thing I'll say, because I'm saying a lot, the third thing is you got to get media trained before you get on TV.
Good point. Yeah, we have a lot of people that pitch us, and you were talking about persistence, and that's paid off here. So it's firsthand truth. Yeah.
Yeah. And find out what who's the audience, what do they want, and meet their needs. So I think it's really important.
Now, you're constantly giving people great advice. Looking back on your journey, what advice or insight do you wish you would have received when you were starting out?
Well, two things. Number one, to my 20-year-old self, I would have been more appreciative of what I had, because what you appreciate appreciates. And I think that in my 20s, I was so focused on what I didn't have that I don't think energetically I was attracting abundance into my life. So that's the advice I would give to like my 20-year-old self, is to focus on what I do have and gratitude, because that just is a higher energy. And it is, you vibrate at a higher level when you're like, God, I have so many gifts in my life. I'm so gifted. I'm so lucky. I mean, things just come to me. I would give that advice to anybody who's in their 20s, just getting out there. Don't focus on what you don't have. You will have it if you appreciate what you have. And the other piece of advice I got from Oprah that I'm going to pass on. And I asked her, I said, what advice would you give to somebody who aspired for your level of success? And she said, success is just a byproduct. You can never aspire for somebody else's level of success. Success is strictly a byproduct of living in service, using your gifts to serve others. So Bridget, like when you think about like somebody's brand and what, they're trying to amplify and get out there and scale and grow, if you reverse engineer and think about how this can serve others, how is this going to improve their life? How is it going to hit pain points? Your marketing and your pitch really comes from a place of service, and not, I can't wait to scale and make money and be famous and be fabulous and whatever your goals. Your goals are a byproduct of living in service. And I hope that lands, because it really is so true of like, go out there and serve, and the rest will fall into place. Right? Like,
yes.
Am I making sense, or just to me?
No, you are making a complete sense. And I love that you also were talking to your 20-year-old self. All those 20-year-olds watching right now, or 20-somethings, great advice because I learned it later in life too. And had I known then, I might have been a little farther along a little sooner, but not complaining. I'm very grateful for all that I have, but great advice on both levels.
No, thank you. And it is, I just think I was so fixated on everyone had more. And I was just like, oh, woe is me. And I was just very negative. And it really was when I was diagnosed with cancer, that I really put that to bed because I was struggling so hard in chemo. And all I wanted, Bridget, was to be like in car line picking up my kids. I wanted the freedom that week to do whatever I wanted. I couldn't because I couldn't drive. I couldn't feel my fingers. I was really struggling. And I realized how much I took for granted. And I never went back to that version of myself. And you can shift from that by practicing gratitude and appreciation and looking at the things in a positive way of like, I get to sit in traffic. I get to pick up my daughter at school. I get to listen to this 8th grade choir that sounds like nails on a chalkboard. I get to do that. And it really does shift your mindset, which ultimately brings your energy level up. And when you're vibrating at a higher energy, you bring in more prosperity, abundance, happiness, fulfillment. But it's all something that I learned a little later, but it's never too late.
How do you handle those haters out there and still maintain that positive attitude?
Wow, that question is hitting so strong right now because I'm a little vocal in spaces that I'd never been in before because the climate is so, I've got a dog in the fight. I've got skin in the game. Like it's very difficult. That was very cute, Dan. We saw you. Yes, good try. So, and I talk about this all the time of how hard it is to not be liked and to not be everybody's cup of tea. And there's a great quote by Mae West, and she says, you can be the juiciest peach out there and not everybody's going to like peaches. I have to always remind myself of that because we do have a need for acceptance and we do like to be validated. We can't dismiss that that's not part of our human experience. But where I go to is, am I in alignment with what I value, with it? What am I in alignment with my highest core values? Am I advocating for those who can't speak for themselves? Am I using my gifts in service? What am I, as long as what I am doing is answering to my higher self, I can deal with adversity and negatives. The best thing about dealing with adversity is the only way you're going to be able to deal with adversity is to deal with adversity. Yeah. What I mean by that is you're not going to build up calluses on your hands to be a bodybuilder or weightlifter unless you actually lift the weights. You can't watch somebody get strong and expect you to get the same calluses on your hands or build the same muscles. You have to build muscle by breaking it down and building those calluses. And that is really one of, something that you have to experience in order to move forward. So I realized with every person that has challenged me and maybe hit below the belt and hurt my feelings and made me feel bad, what they were actually doing wasn't breaking me as much as they were building me to have the fortitude I need to stay true to my highest calling, to my highest level of service. I have to be formidable. I have to be unbreakable. I have to be able to stand tall in the pocket through adversity. And I didn't realize it until now. I'm in one of the biggest fights of my life, not physically, but, more spiritually. And I'm talking about the conflict in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. I got skin in that game and it's tough. But I realize I have gone through everything that I have gone through to stand here today and advocate for the most vulnerable, to advocate for freedom for both sides of the conflict and be able to deal with what is the punches that are coming in. I am like Rocky at this point.
Well, keep it up. You're doing a great job. And I think sometimes being true to yourself and doing the right thing isn't always the easiest thing. So a lot of times we just kind of, okay, we're not going to do it because it's going to be difficult. And the fact that you're out there and you're doing it and you're sharing your voice is incredible. So keep doing it.
That's such a great concept though, because doing what's right and doing what's easy are very rarely on the same path.
Exactly.
And constantly going, is this the right thing to do? Is this where I feel I am expected to live in this lifetime? And why am I here? Why have been confronted with this? Why can't I just ignore? Like, I just want to, I don't want to be part of this conflict, but yet I am, and here I am. So I'm learning a lot, and I feel like I can only put my head down on the pillow and rest comfortably when I know that I have done my part to use my gifts to serve others, to be in service. So it's not easy, Bridget, but
exactly.
I hope that lands of like, you got to build it.
Yes, absolutely. Very, very well said. And I think that it's great advice for a lot of people watching right now. So thank you.
Yes, of course. And I will say this, it's on the flip side, my children are watching. So I have three kids, 18, 20, and a 12-year-old. My 20-year-old who's in college is definitely like watching some of the things I have to battle in the political arena. And he's like, Mom, it's just so hard to watch people be mean to you. But I'm showing him that can't stop me from advocacy and for truth and to, play a role here. And I'm teaching him like, sticks and stones may break my bones. Words will never hurt me.
Yes.
I'm okay. I'm still me. Even if people are being mean to me, I'm going to be okay. So I hope I'm teaching him fortitude to get in the gym, build muscles, build calluses, and it's not going to kill you. It's going to make you stronger. I'm pretty strong at this point.
Yeah. And great life lessons that you're teaching your children and those watching. So that's great.
Yeah, no, thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, do you think there are certain characteristics that that women need to be a leader?
Oh, absolutely. I think leadership is really most optimized when you are looking out for everyone else's best interest. When you think like, what is in this person's best interest? How can I help them? And when I began thinking along those lines, so I used to run sales teams in my 20s. That's when I lived in Atlanta. And when I really had the shift, so I'd always be like, I've got to make money. And I'd had sales teams and it was like, hit the goals. And when I shifted, I had this huge shift and it changed the trajectory of my business. So it is really powerful. And it's something you read about and how to win friends and influence people. But this is when I really put it in action. And I was managing the sales team and I really liked one of my top sales reps, but he had just started rolling donuts, and in sales, that's zero, like going out in the field, doing nothing. But I didn't want to say anything because I was like, I don't want him to quit. And he was just, and I'm still friends with him to this day. And he just had his third child. I didn't want him to quit. I liked his energy in the office. So I was like, oh, no, just let him get away with it. And I had this day of reckoning where I was like, oh my God, now everybody else thinks that they can go out and like, I don't know, sleep in their car. And instead of thinking like, wow, now everybody's doing zeros and now this just office is going to pot and now I'm making no money. And I took it in a different direction because I didn't want to lose him, but I cared so much about him that I said to myself, what's in George's best interest? And I brought him into the office. I sat him down and I was like, I don't think this is for you. So instead of like it being about me, I really thought about it. I was like, I don't think this business is in your best interest. And I don't think because you're not performing and you're not going to be able to pay your rent at the end of the month. And I had this really deep conversation with him of like, maybe you need to pursue other endeavors. So instead of being about me and my sales office, it became about him and what was in his best interest. The conversation ended up flipping and he was like, oh my God, I don't want to lose my job. And I love, but when I learned in that moment was when I cared more about them than I cared about myself, all of a sudden production went up throughout the entire, I started looking at like, how can I help them do better in the fields? How can I help their career advance? How can I use my experience to help them overcome adversity? I started to flip and all of a sudden, Bridget, I started making more money. My team started scaling. I ended up taking on more clients. The place became bonkers. I had to move out of that office location because it became because people like just loved working there. Yeah. Of course they did, because I was helping them. And in the process, I ended up doing better. Again, success is a byproduct of helping others. So if you can stop, shift the script. So yes, that to me is leadership, helping others optimize how is it in their best interest. So that was a long story, but
no, that was great. I don't know if that happened before your advice from Oprah, but it seems like you may have been taking that kind of advice or using that practice long before she gave you the advice, or maybe it was around the same time, but it's the same thing. You were helping other people, which in turn helped you. So
I think each time you hear it, Bridget, like you've heard it before me, like you've heard it in different ways and different days. I think it all kind of stacks and compounds. And the more times you hear it and the more ways it comes at you and you experience it, it's this validation of, okay, let me give and I will get. Let me give more. Like the Go Giver book, got to read that one. It's so true. So yeah, it's this validation of like, I know this to be true, but sometimes in real life, I need it to be affirmed.
Love it. Love it. Now you have accomplished so much already, but what's next? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years?
Oh my God, I don't know. So I'm writing a
loaded question.
Out. It's such a, I'm like, I could be anywhere. I could be like running for president at this point because the country needs me. But I will never do that. I think over the next 5 years, I'm releasing a book. I was thinking about writing another book right after that, Growing Up Schwartz, which is this compilation of like the things I learned through adversity and building resilience. But I don't know. I think it's just a work in progress. I got another kid to get into college. And I just want to continue over the next 5 years, living out loud, trying new things, and just doing my best. And sometimes I think that what is kind of going through my motherboard right now, which is my brain, I think what stops a lot of people from really going for it and ending up in the same place in 5 years, or moving, in another trajectory over 5 years, is I think we're always afraid. We're afraid of embarrassing ourselves. We're afraid to put ourselves out. What are people going to think? I'm just going to encourage more people to go out there and embarrass yourself. Like, just go out there and do things. The truth is, most people aren't thinking about you anyway, and they're going to judge you no matter what you're doing. So you might as well give them something to judge you about and leave it all out on the field. Like, just leave it there. Go try, go write a book, go on television, go, be a class, go just do whatever you've aspired to do, or at least take the next step in the, and the pursuit of, and be okay with making mistakes, making an ass out of yourself. One of my biggest fears of going on TV was, what if I go on TV and I forget what I'm saying, or I mess up words? So I went on TV. There he is again, celebrity. So I went on, I did one of my segments on the Today Show, and I tried to find the word Bridget. I was looking for sorcery, but my Jersey couldn't get sorcery out. Jersey girl was like sorcery. So Hoda asked me, she goes, how does this smokeless fire pit work? And I was like, oh, it's because I didn't know. And I was trying to be cute. And I was like, it's sorcery. Oh my God, that's not the right word. And
oh my goodness.
I was like, sorcerer. And I could, and you can see, I still can't get it. I'm like,
it's a tough one, but they invited you back time and time again. So
they keep calling. So I'm like, I guess sorcery.
Sorcery. It's a tough one.
Let's just not use that word again. It's the wizardry.
Wizardry. There you go.
Yeah. There's just, and I think that is, again, like when I was speaking at one of the conferences, I just forgot what I was talking about. And that is, if you spend enough time with me, that's like part of me. Like, and I can't be ashamed of it. Like, I just have to own it and be like, you are just a hot mess express sometimes. And if you are, that's okay. It almost like gives other people the permission to be a little messy. Yeah. We're not perfect.
Right. And thank you for being so so real about everything, because it's certainly helping. I know it's helping the audience. It's helping me. So you're a true inspiration, and we really appreciate you sharing your story today and your advice and everything else. So thank you so much for everything and all you're doing. Hope to have you back again. Maybe we'll talk about that book.
Oh, absolutely. And we don't want to not acknowledge that Dan has been going in and out of the background.
Yes, yes.
So this is my imperfectly perfect life. So
if he wants to join you next time, we'll just have him sit with you.
Yes, we do have a great love story. So I'm happy to share.
That'd be great to talk about too. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Barbara. We do appreciate it, and we wish you all the best.
And thank you, Bridget. I appreciate it. Today was great.
This is the Female Founder Show with host and entrepreneur Bridget Fitzpatrick, exclusively on ASBN. If you're a female founder and would like to help other female founders with your inspiring story, we would love to hear from you.